Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and as always, the guys on my side, my ride or die bitches are Richard.
What?
And Michael.
Howdy.
My ride or die. Richard and
I hope
Michael.
I'm in the sidecar.
I
I hope Richard's on the back.
Richard's
You're-
shotgun.
Rich,
You're in the sidecar.
You're leading this thing.
Am I like Danger Mouse? I've got like the sidecar, like the guy who rides in the sidecar thing. Do you remember Danger Mouse?
Maybe you could be
I
the
never watched
sidecar in
Danger
it. Maybe it
Mouse.
could be a double sidecar
Danger
situation.
Wasn't there a band, Danger Mouse, too?
You're thinking Modest Mouse.
Modest Mouse. Sorry.
No, you're thinking of Danger. You're
Okay.
thinking of Danger Mouse.
There was the band Danger
Yeah.
Mouse. Well, we're off topic, but we'll get on topic. And when we get on that topic, Richard and Michael, like they always do, will debate the most ubiquitous aspects of that topic. This week's topic is the Rashomon Effect. Rashomon, an Akira Kurosawa film released in 1950. And from what I've heard about it, it was actually based on a folk story that was adapted into a play. So it existed in the culture.
So why did you come up with this?
I am
Topic.
fascinated with narrative and with how plot figures into story. When people consider what movie they're going to see, they read the plot. When you go to Netflix and you hover over something, you see what the plot is. But the plot is not what people go and enjoy. The people enjoy stories about individuals, and the stories are about somebody, and the stories are told from somebody's POV. Well, Rashomon was kind of innovative at the time for telling the same story from multiple perspectives. And that brings up questions of which perspective and which part of the story is truth, is the right part of the story, and it also enables the filmmaker to really delve into character, because ultimately stories test and try and destroy and rebuild the characters that inhabit them. And that's why I think it's kind of fascinating. And Rashomon was copied in things before I ever saw the film Rashomon. There was an episode of Diff'rent Strokes called Rashomon 2.
Don't jump ahead to my picks.
You're cutting into our, you're stealing our thunder, bro.
Sorry, dudes. So it has been one of those things like the A Christmas Carol that we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
It's become a story template. So Rashomon was a film in 1950, a period piece directed by Akira Kurosawa about a samurai and the people he interacts with. And it has multiple different narratives about individuals, a bandit, a wife, a samurai, a woodcutter. So
Most of your usual characters.
your usual
tropes,
characters,
yes.
archetypes in Japanese period films. So
Well, that's how you remember why you chose this topic.
that's it. That's
Now,
it.
I have a different memory of this. But,
It was. I think it actually came out of an episode of Mount Rushmore that we were recording.
Was it really?
or
Yeah,
different. I think it came out of an episode of Diff'rent Strokes.
Did it? Totally believe that.
Well, we'll find
Well,
out
we
by
shall
the end of this. By the end of this episode, we'll find out who's correct and who's not correct.
Okay, so let's jump in and again, I have some tricks up my sleeve and things that we've been adopting in this new year, and we'll see what happens. Richard, why don't you start us out?
All right, so my first one is a little movie called Rashomon.
Yeah, also on my list.
I don't know if you've heard of it before.
You both chose it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's a story about a woodcutter and a
Wait a
Samurai.
second.
samurai.
Wait, this is
And a
like
wife.
the Memento effect now. It seems to be going in reverse.
There's a
Have you-
bandit in
That's
there.
why
too.
you just have a lot of tattoos about Kurosawa
That's
films
right.
all over your body. You know, yes, there is this. It seems like we have to have this on the Rushmore. It's what it's named after.
Sure. Yeah.
And one thing I did want to point out is you mentioned the Diff'rent Strokes episode.
Yeah.
And there have been so many TV shows over the years that have, usually sitcoms, that do their take on Rashomon.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is they usually get it wrong.
Okay.
Because usually it's like, well, something happens, and they're trying to figure out who broke something or stole something or whatever it is. One person tells their ridiculous story. The other person tells a ridiculous story. And then someone comes in from the outside. It's like, no, you idiots. Here's what really happened.
Very, very much like the end of Clue,
Yes.
which isn't really.
Which isn't really one, but
Yeah.
You get the idea.
Yeah.
The problem is that's not actually what happens in Rashomon. In Rashomon, the woodcutter is the person who is kind of brought in to be is presented as sort of the outside voice, right? Like that he saw what happened.
Yeah.
He's not someone who has a stake in it.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, by the way, but if you're listening to a show about the Rashomon Effect, you're going to get fucking spoiled,
Yeah.
okay? The end of the movie, it turns out that the woodcutter had stolen the samurai's dagger, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So he, in fact, had a reason to alter his version of the truth as well.
Yeah.
And that never, most of the time, whenever another movie or TV show attempts to do their version of this, they always get that part wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like they always try to come up with some actual documented truth.
Mm-hmm.
And look, if this had occurred in modern day Japan, I'm sure there would have been a home security system up, and this movie would have been about 10 minutes long. Right? So it's a little bit harder to do this today without having some way to actually document what the hell just really happened.
Yeah.
It's like that crummy movie Disclosure about.
Oh yeah,
that was based on the crummy Michael Crichton book with
Michael Douglas.
And all of it at the end of the day is captured on like some grainy footage that they have like hidden inside the security system.
Mm-hmm.
He's terrible.
Fortunately,
I've read all of his books.
Fortunately, Michael Douglas didn't do anything wrong, because the lesson we learned from that movie is that women will just throw themselves at you
Yes.
Yeah.
and sexually accost you at any opportunity.
Well, that's an interesting aspect of Rashomon too, because one of the sole women in it, she doesn't. There's really no point of view where she looks good. It's unfortunately sexist and chauvinist and horrible to her.
But probably pretty accurate to feudal Japan.
Yeah,
then,
yeah, to the time,
in a lot of ways. So I guess Kurosawa films are not exactly the best movies for representations of females to begin with, but at the same time, trying to present a certain time frame, I guess, sort of excuses that a little bit.
Yeah.
Why did you have this on here? Same reasons, Michael? Michael?
Basically, when you think it kind of came down to, it was a few weeks ago when we were talking about like late edition sitcom characters.
Okay.
When you suggested the cousin Oliver.
Oh, right.
And ultimately, I awarded you that pick because I thought, you know what, if it is named after the thing, and if it's in the dictionary, in the Oxford Dictionary, because of that, I was like, you have to address it in some sort of way.
Right. Okay, so cool. So that's kind of the gold standard by which others are measured. So, Richard, you've said why you've chosen it. Michael, you've said why you've chosen it. So, Michael, why don't you tell us what your second choice would be?
I got a song for you guys.
Uh-oh.
Do I have to sing?
There's a lot of he said, she said
Do
songs
I need
out
to get
there.
the guitar?
No. Maybe like something out of the 80s, like Don't You Want Me by the Human League.
Oh, sweet.
Maybe,
That's a good one.
Maybe you're more of like an indie alt electro type person, and you like Nothing Better by the Postal Service.
Oh, wait a second. He's doing my thing where he names a bunch of them that he didn't
I could have
pick.
chose.
By the way, I'm throwing a challenge flag on this one.
This is Sustain.
Or maybe you should go with the Mount Rushmore of songs about he said, she said, which is Summer Nights from the movie Grease.
Also on my
There we
also
go.
on my
Oh
list.
my God.
I think we should make him have to take Don't You Want Me, because that's a pretty good pick too.
I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. That much is true.
Somewhere there's a really bad like 2-person play
Yeah.
based off of
The problem with
that song.
the problem with Don't You Want Me by the Human League is like the song really doesn't, like, at the beginning the guy lays out his his kind of version of it where I built you up into this great singer, or you left me and all this stuff, and her version is just kind of like, yes, I was a waitress, but I left you. She doesn't really do anything with it. She's just like, I still love you or whatever. Everything's cool. She kind of ignores all the stuff that he kind of mentioned.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But the Summer Lovin' is one of those songs where it is so, like, especially the way it's enacted on screen.
Yeah.
He comes off very.
He's talking to the greasers. She's talking to the pink ladies
Yes.
or whoever. Okay. And
he's trying to come off very macho and kind of bragging about his sexual exploits,
hiding his vulnerability because he was legit in love with this girl. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think she's trying to come off as if it was nothing more than just a summer fling so she can forget about him and have, and depict him as something sweeter.
Yeah.
But obviously there was something more that happened.
She's a 30-year-old Australian woman in high school, in a school that's mostly populated by 30-year-old American kids.
And Stockard Channing, who was 67 at the time of filming.
So what was it that drew you to this, Richard?
So this is a song that's basically about whether Sandy or Danny fucked.
Okay.
Right? That's basically what the song is about.
Yeah.
And because the choice which is indicative of Grease as a movie, because the choice that Grease presents, certainly by the ending, is either you're a prude or you're a slut. Mm-hmm. And it's better to be a slut.
Yeah.
Especially if you can smoke cigarettes. That's also good too. And this song kind of sets us up for that whole kind of Strum and Drang, if I can speak some German here for a second.
Yeah.
And we wind up. That's Russian. Motherfucker.
You just for a second. You didn't say forever.
It may be Russian one day. But this song kind of sets up the whole movie, which when you rewatch it, it's very problematic. Mm-hmm. Like we watched it with our daughter Vivian about a year ago, and it was like, what do you think the ending of this is about, Vivian? I don't know. I think it was basically her answer was like, I don't get it. So was it supposed to be the morals are a little bit like
what I think
windy?
Is interesting is I'm kind of fascinated with that musical when I learned that Paul McCartney owns the rights to that.
Oh, really?
And it's had an evolution like Rashomon, the film. It started as a collection of of essentially reminiscences about growing up in the 1950s, and there was no original music. It was a guy telling these funny stories about this time he hooked up with some chick or made out with this girl or he skipped class or whatever, and they would play some 50s songs. Then somebody said, you should make this into a musical, and those people you talk about, write dialogue for those people so they become characters. And he went, okay. and he did not sanitize, like the original production, any of the sex aspects of it. Like Grease has some artifacts in it of this original production, which was about fucking and being in high school and having sex and being...
And now there's a school version that's appropriate for your junior high to do. Yeah. Which they've taken out basically any of the good stuffs. Like, but Rizzo's there's no pregnancy thing. There's no cigarettes, there's no alcohol, all the fun stuff that makes you actually like Grease.
Within Rashomon and Grease, there are storytellers and there's an audience. And the storyteller is playing to the crowd. They know what aspect that crowd wants to hear.
Danny is playing to the Grease mob or whatever what are they called? Fabulous
T-Birds, right?
Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Future Mensa members.
The Fabulous Thunderbirds. Is that then that went on to be a moderately successful blues rock band? And then Sandy's not so much playing it up. I think you're probably led to believe her story is a little bit more accurate. More. So is it really Rashomon or is it really Danny just being a fucking liar?
I don't know. I think that she probably doesn't let on as much. There was like a hand job under the
under the water.
Under the water,
when he was splashing around. That's what he was. So what was happening?
I forgot about Grease. Did he go to Australia?
No, she came over there. For the summer.
Okay. She was supposed
to
go back.
And then she wasn't going to go back. And then I don't know. There's some sort of dad got arrested on heroin charges. Yes. I don't know exactly what happened.
I'm not a Grease expert.
Yeah, I'm not a Greaseologist, guys.
I do like the idea that like Danny Zuko is like when he's not around everyone, he's like a huge nerd and maybe playing like D&D or whatever.
Yeah. He feels like he has to put on this act. He's projecting his masculinity when he's around people. Okay.
Hey, by the way, Jeff, do you know who did the role of Rizzo in the original Broadway production?
I do not.
Adrienne Barbeau.
Holy smokes!
I just pointed that because I wanted to think about her boobs for a second.
Okay. Well, let's pause for a second. Okay, and
we're
back.
Now we're back.
Okay. So
I totally lost your train of thought. I got you.
we can go to halftime.
I got you thinking about Adrienne Barbeau's boobs, and now you're just
I'm always kind of half thinking about that. Okay,
that's true.
Hey guys, we are at halftime now, and for you, the listeners of Mount Rushmore Podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their services. And if you want, you can check out, since we're talking about Kurosawa, talking about a film with innovative structure, filmmaking, create a feature film on a limited budget on Audible by the author Nancy Thomas. That's just one of 180,000 titles that you can choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Rushmore. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Rushmore for your free audiobook with a 30-day free trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So, check us out, the Mount Rushmore Podcast. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. And you know what? We're definitely on Facebook, and we're doing fun things there like Facebook Live, where you can join us and suggest a topic that we do a lightning round of Rushmore on. So we would love for you to follow us on social media and all these places and get involved with the dialogue and suggest topics that we can then debate right here on this podcast, or perhaps you could be a guest. So we would appreciate that if you would join us in the dialogue about all the fun things that are happening at the Mount Rushmore Podcast. So guys, we're back. We are indeed back. Richard, what would your third suggestion for the Mount Rushmore Rashomon Effect be?
This one is a fairly recent one, and in fact one that there will be a bit of a spoiler alert. So I'm going to say this one, if you have not seen The Last Jedi, you might want to fuck off for a couple minutes, because my choice is The Last Jedi. The kind of different point of views between...
I wrote down The Last Starfighter.
Very close. Very similar movies.
Also on my list.
Uh-oh.
Holy smokes.
Uh-oh, are we 3 for 3?
This is like...
Are we getting near we're getting near pasta shapes in retirement territory? One more.
The podcasting... what's that thing called? The
globe? World thing you lock. You're doing
Singularity is approaching us.
That's right.
So, as you could see, podcast listeners, the thing I was doing with my fingers looked like my fingertips were kissing, which is the international sign of singularity.
So just if this is your first time listening to the show, we have declared that if ever Michael and I pick the same thing, all 4 choices, we'll do one more episode, which is pasta shapes, and then we will stop doing the show.
Wrap it up.
So if you guys are hoping for us to stop doing the show, you're 3/4 of the way there. So Last Jedi, and to be fair to myself on this one, I had to look part of this up because even though I saw the movie, my son got too freaked out by some of the loud noises and had to leave for a while. So I missed the big reveal of what actually happened.
Okay.
So can you guys tell me what actually happened? No. This is basically the differing tales that are told to, what's her name?
Ray.
To Ray, thank you. About what happened.
I'll just throw out random Star Wars character names and hopefully that you won't be
bite on one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gonk droid.
Yeah. So the Gonk droid
and Bosk teamed up.
Mm-hmm. So Ray basically wants to know from Luke what happened when he was training Kylo, that everything went wrong. Here's where the spoiler alerts begin. He says, well, he noticed that he noticed that Kylo was ready to go bad. So he decided he had to do something about it.
He's a piece of salmon. Oh man, what's the
I gotta
date
do
on
something about this. Maybe I could turn this into like a salad, like a tuna salad.
Jeez,
or
that was
something.
2 days ago. It's starting. Smell the honey. Smell this.
Yeah.
Smell this Kylo kid.
Kylo's getting funky a little bit. Which, by the way, if it's Adam Driver, he might smell. He does not look like somebody who bathes regularly.
He's kind of like a
stinky
pumpkin.
man.
The pumpkin 10 days after.
He was able to sense the dark side within Ben Solo before he was Kylo Ren.
Okay.
That he was seduced by Snoke, which is just a dumb name.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Richard.
Oh, versus like
they're all dumb names.
Robot or whatever that thing is. Well, keep going, Michael, because you actually saw all of the scenes in this movie.
So he explains to Rey that he sensed that he was turning to the dark side, and that's when Kylo Ren attacked and destroyed Luke's new academy of new Jedi.
Yeah, what was that called, by the way?
It's like Jedi's. It was
like a junior college out on a rock.
Do you think they had like a pod racing team?
It was called the Jedi Rocks Academy of hanging out.
They had an intercollegiate like pod racing thing they did. I'm
And
really gonna push the show, you guys.
Yeah, and then there's a future scene where Rey is kind of force timing with Kylo Ren, and he kind of reveals to her that, he didn't just sense the dark side in me. He tried to kill me, and he came up on me when I was sleeping and was going to kill me with a lightsaber. And then
that was the point where my son, who was autistic, freaked the fuck out.
Yeah,
And because he saw like the crazy eyes from Luke, and was like, "Yeah, I'm out of here. We need to leave right now."
It's kind of scary. Scary Luke Skywalker. And then further on, it's kind of like after she kind of confronts him, he kind of reveals that the first thing he said wasn't really the full truth, and that what Kylo Ren was saying really wasn't the truth.
Yeah.
It was that he had sensed the kind of dark side in Kylo Ren and, kind of felt like he'd failed and went to kill him, which is true. But then he kind of resisted and pulled back, kind of much in the same way that he did when he was going to kill Darth Vader on the Death Star.
Yeah.
And he kind of saw the humanity in him, and it was like, I can't do this, which is kind of always Luke's always kind of been right there on the edge of maybe going to the dark side, which has been great about him. He actually is a character that has multiple levels. He's not just a good guy.
Yeah.
And then it's ultimately revealed that Kylo Ren was still too far gone, ended up still, attacking whatever, the Jedi Training Academy and killing all the students.
Destroying it, right.
Yeah. What I do like about this was that it kind of harkens back to Luke kind of takes the role that like Ben Kenobi took in the original trilogy, where he kind of describes his father as like, he told him that Darth Vader was a pupil of his and turned to evil and betrayed and killed his father. And then later kind of reveals, well, he killed him, but it was, from a certain point of view. And Luke's like, what? What are you talking about? He's literally the same person. He's like, yeah, but, a lot of the things you learn will be told from a certain point of view. So I do appreciate that Rian Johnson, I always say that. I always say Rian Johnson.
You're mixing him up with Rainn Wilson?
I 100% do.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that there was like a callback to that kind of misinformation, that Luke kind of didn't fall too far from the tree from Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he kind of didn't say the whole truth when he was telling the story to Rey.
The Last Jedi had very compelling character evolutions. Like Luke is somewhere that I never imagined he would go, and Rey and Kylo have the intensity of the relationship that they've established has been ratcheted up, and that's something I really enjoyed about it. The architecture of that movie placed a big divide between me and enjoying the movie. There are plot lines and elements that I felt didn't deliver with the same intensity that Luke and Rey, Ben and Rey delivered on, and those plot lines created this crevasse I just couldn't cross to get to that movie.
It seems that a lot of people have like a big issue with like the gambling planet, and that the plot line where Finn and Rose go off for like, a third of the movie or half an hour to go basically do nothing. Like ultimately that they fail.
It's there basically just to get Benicio del Toro into the movie, which is not something we really needed to have.
Ultimately, but like I've obviously read a lot of like breakdowns of the movie. The movie is about failure. The movie is about all the different characters learning about failure. Like what's the Oscar Isaac character name?
Poe Dameron.
Poe learns about failure throughout. He doesn't trust Leia. He doesn't trust the Laura Dern character. Yeah, he goes off and fails repeatedly, only at the very end to pull back and realize, okay, I have to trust someone.
Right.
Same thing with like Finn and Rose. They go through this whole thing of failure only to realize that that what their arc is or whatever.
Yeah, no, Poe Dameron's brand is failure pretty much for the entire movie.
Yeah.
I've been called Poe Failure.
Well,
Whoa!
Where's a bottle of whiskey? I'm feeling all out of sorts from this time travel. I'm twirling my mustache. I'm looking.
Mr. Roosevelt.
Well, hello.
Mr.
I feel
Roosevelt,
like I'm
how
looking
are you?
into a mirror. There's another stocky, stout gentleman who's looked like he's loaded for bear.
This is the strangest FDR impression I've ever. Wait, oh no! I'm sorry.
I do have a big stick here, Mr. President.
Whoa! Speak softly. I think
it's called a guitar.
Oh, that's right. So you were talking about some people who went on some kind of adventure, and they failed, huh? Well, that sounds super stupid and boring. I don't think I would want to watch that.
Well, they were the men in the arena.
What's that? The men in the arena?
That's a quote that you have.
Oh, it is?
Mr. Roosevelt.
I said a lot of shit. tip a canoe in Tyler too. Did I say that? I don't even remember.
I think you may be kind of drunk, sir.
Let's preserve the national park so later on some idiot baboon-looking guy can sell it off to oil companies. Did I say that?
I believe you did, sir.
It's a direct quote.
Direct quote. You just said it. You actually just said it.
Hey, maybe somebody could take a bear and stuff it and maybe go to a theme park and there would be a shop outside. They could build one. And call it a teddy bear! Well, I've just come here to ask this schmuck over here, hey, what's in the bag? What's that? What's in the bag? Oh, you mean the Borglum bag? Yeah! Oh, this is the bag that holds something that is a choice that can defeat and preempt and disrupt any of the choices that the other people are making. That's right, smart guy. Okay, well, I'll tell you what's in the bag. The Borglum bag, Gutzon Borglum, who created the Mount Rushmore monument and chose the presidents that were on the Mount Rushmore monument.
Well, everyone knows that.
Oh, that's right. Every school kid knows.
Learns about
Yeah.
Gutzon Borglum, yeah.
He is the person we can credit for putting these faces on the monument. And I've just observed that none of these presidents have hats. That's right, I never wore a hat. I've seen you in photos, somewhere, engravings where you have a hat. That's right, I sometimes wore a hat. But Lincoln is known for wearing a hat. He's not wearing a hat on the monument. Who would wear a hat when posing for a monument? Okay, point made. But my choice for the Borglum bag.
These guys posed for the monument?
They were posing the whole time.
Even Washington?
Even Washington.
He'd been dead for like 150
He was interred
years.
and reposed. The movie He Said, She Said. It is a movie from 1991 with Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Perkins, and it was one of the first roles with Nathan Lane, and I freaking loved this movie.
He was so young they just called him Nate Lane.
They just kept Natey Lane. I loved it because it was the same story told from the both male and female aspects. So as far as a romantic comedy, that was the genre, but it was told basically by two different directors, Ken Kwapis and Marissa Silver, and they each directed scenes from this. So you got to see the he said part, and they got to see the she said part, and they were actually done by different storytellers.
And they both went on to such great careers.
Huge
after that.
careers after that. But I really freaking enjoyed it. It was a fun romantic comedy. 5.6 out of 10 on the Metacritic scale. So
I mean, it's no she's having a baby.
No.
But what could be?
Right. That's right. But that is in the bag. So far, I have yet to determine whether one of my choices will preempt one of your choices.
Jeff, it's kind of awkward because Teddy is still kind of just hanging around.
Mr. Roosevelt, don't take your saber into my couch, okay? Stop sabering my couch. I'll do whatever the hell I want to and charge up San Juan Hill.
Mr. Roosevelt, I believe I saw one of the last bison running outside. You may want to go kill it.
I'll go kill it post haste. All right, so thank you, Richard.
Whew.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Hey, the good news is we got bison burgers later on.
Delish.
Okay, so we are at our fourth and final.
And it may be our final, close to our final, if this is the same. It's getting a little concerned.
Oh, that's right. If these match, game over.
This is like the match game, like when they get to the bonus round, and you had to match Richard Dawson.
Yeah,
and you win $1,000. It's like what this is.
That's what this is.
Well, before we head off into that dark night, Richard, Jeff, it's been a hell of a 99 episodes.
Well, so 100 would be pasta shape. That would be quite fitting, I think.
That would be great. So my last choice is Harry Potter and all the books.
Oh, God! I didn't choose that.
No.
Oh, he didn't choose it. Okay, we're safe.
There-
Sorry, listeners.
Sorry, guys.
There's more.
All of your fingers became uncrossed as soon as you heard that. Oh, we have to keep going on listening to this podcast now. They became uncrossed and went right in their ears.
Oh, dear.
And then went to middle fingers. That's the only ones that stayed up. And then
Why these? I've never read the books.
Oh.
Never seen the movies. I rode the ride.
Harry Potter, as a character, grew up mostly as an orphan.
Okay.
He grew up amongst his two, Muggle relatives.
Okay.
I almost said human relatives, but they're all humans. Non-magic user, like aunt and uncle.
Okay.
And he didn't know his mother and father.
Mm-hmm.
And a big aspect of this character is this idealization of his father especially. Okay. And he kind of finds out over the years and over a number of books that his dad was kind of a bad kid. Kind of he goofed off in the same way that he goofed off. But he'd hear it from a lot of different perspectives. From Dumbledore, who was the headmaster, and would kind of, blow it off kind of in terms of like, he got into trouble like all kids get into trouble. Yeah. And he'd hear it from the potions master, Snape, who ultimately became kind of Harry's not arch enemy, but like sub enemy.
Yeah.
Who kind of treated him poorly throughout all of the books. And Snape hated him basically from Dumbledore's perspective because because Harry's father saved his life once. And so he had this tremendous like debt to him for having saved his life for this person that he hated. He didn't do it necessarily because he was all that great a person. He kind of had lured Snape into this trap and let this trap kind of unspring and then eventually kind of saved him.
Okay.
But it ultimately comes down to this knowledge of who your parents are. You don't really know who they are before you've known them. And to hear stories of like your dad who you've idealized growing up and then to kind of be in his shoes kind of knocks Harry for a loop constantly. He's constantly finding out that his dad was kind of a bad kid at times. He didn't really treat anybody. He's like, no, he was a hero. It's like, well, kind of really wasn't. It ultimately takes like Harry is going through like these weird like he's trying to build up these mind blocks against like the big bad Voldemort.
Okay.
And he's teamed up with Snape to Dumbledore kind of tells him he's got to work with this guy to prevent him from breaking into your mind. And ultimately it gets reversed and Harry jumps into Snape's head and kind of sees like from Snape's point of view that his dad kind of embarrassed him constantly and picked on him and kind of treated him rough. So it kind of breaks up all of these stories that he'd either built inside his head or kind of heard, second hand or third hand from other students and other teachers. And it was kind of like, I don't know who my dad is. I don't know what this guy is until you kind of get all the pieces together.
Do you feel like one of the aspects of the Rashomon style of storytelling is you get to be the jury, decide who has the most truth to them. But the filmmaker or storyteller is continually manipulating what you see and what is true. It seems like another component of this is sins of the father weighing upon the son. So Harry now has an opportunity to create a redemption for his family or apologize to this character or to now that he's got this truth, what does he do with it?
Yeah, and I think ultimately for Harry, it's easier for him with Snape to still be the role of like he still kind of takes on his dad's antagonistic role with him. He never believes that he's not up to no good. He always considers like anything that's happening that's going bad at the school, and when Lord Voldemort's involved,
he's said like, his name, you idiot.
Sorry.
He's coming.
He assumes that Snape, no matter all the things that Dumbledore's told him about Snape, he always assumes that Snape is this bad guy. But Snape just kind of hates him because he hated his father. And it's ultimately revealed that Snape kind of loved his mother and would protect Harry in spite of that other, all these other things ultimately come out by the end of all 7 books, but it takes a long ways for Harry as a character to get there to like appreciate him as a person that he had built up as like this bad guy.
Okay. Oh, cool. So, Richard.
All right.
Wrap it up.
Give me a second, guys. I was going to choose that one.
Wrap it up. That's the Fabulous Thunderbirds, who were the backup for...
the Summer 11.
Russo. Oh, my God. What's
Danny Zucco.
Danny Zucco.
Good callback, Jeff. Good job. So I was going to choose the Harry Potter, but then I changed it at the last second.
What a liar.
Now, my last one is from the television show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
And
it's the episode Who Got Dee Pregnant.
Okay.
Which is basically an episode that is what the name says. It is Dee announces to who is the only female member of the gang, that she is pregnant, and everyone spends the episode trying to figure out basically who knocked her up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just great. It's all of the idiocy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Basically, everyone has their own like dipshit version of what happened at this like Halloween party they're at.
Yeah,
like little even minor things from Danny DeVito's character. Everyone assumes that he's Spider-Man, but no, he corrects him later on that he's actually Man-Spider. Man-Spider.
I like that by the end of the episode, you get to a point where you realize that it's a story of perspective by drunker and more, like everyone is just getting drunker and drunker.
Yeah.
And you see like just these awful people that are just like, they don't remember anything.
They're all the worst.
From all of their days.
Yeah, and one of the things is Dee is dressed up as her character's an angel.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone progressively sees her as more and more bird-like during the episode, because I think that's a running gag throughout the series.
Yeah, you goddamn bird.
Yeah, that they always say she looks like a bird, even though she really doesn't. But throughout the episode, each person who tells the story, it goes from her wearing an angel costume to like a bird costume to like the last one, which I think is Max. He actually just thought there was an ostrich running through the bar during the party. And as it gets near the end, you're led to believe that it was actually through a series of misunderstandings, people switching costumes, et cetera, that Dee's brother Dennis is the one who knocked her up.
Oh God!
Which leads to lots of dry heaving from Dennis as they go over to tell Dee what they think happened. Then it turns out that no, in fact, she knows who knocked her up, and it wasn't any of you guys idiots. She just made up the story that she didn't know so she could get somebody to care about her pregnancy. Because no one ever talks about her, cares about her.
I love at the end when they're like, oh, no, now that we're not involved, we don't care at all.
And then they go off to try and like sneak into the museum to go do a night at the museum thing, which is like the perfect It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia ending. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to Michael's point, this is not just a loss of perspective. It's people who are so progressively drunk and or idiotic from Charlie's standpoint that they don't have the facilities to actually tell us a basic story correctly. Mm-mm. This is not just they're getting minor details wrong. They think that a female dressed as an angel is an actual ostrich.
So it's like splintered, fractured narrative and unreliable narrator in the same
combined in the same thing. If you have a fractured, unreliable narrator, that's basically what you've got with this episode.
Okay. So guys, this was kind of unprecedented. I don't know if we've had 3 of the same picks in the past or not.
Michael, as the resident statistician, I believe we have once.
We have. I don't remember which one, but I'll have to look it up.
Mount Rushmore colors on the American flag.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so but thanks for those strong suggestions and the strong justifications behind them. Here is how I am going to judge. I am going to judge kind of based not on the choice, but on your support of that choice. And I want to give you both a point for Summer Lovin', because I just like the idea of you guys both watching Grease and you showing this movie to Vivian.
Had me a blast.
Creeping her out with the adult content that's in that, and giving her this role model of Sandy, the girl who turns from probably an academic standout to super slut.
Right.
And
being horrified with the idea that, wait a second, what did I just show you?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She'll be ordering tight black pants on Amazon any minute now. Smoking cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
The pink ladies.
It's my daughter you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Watch your mouth.
Okay. And your compassionate and compelling descriptions of both Harry Potter and The Last Jedi earn you each a point for those, Michael.
I'm not getting a Last Jedi point.
He also chose Last Jedi.
But he's not giving me that point. Is
like
what
I'm
he's saying.
saying, I'm judging your justification, not your choice.
So did he get a point for
he got
his
a point,
justification?
He got a point for Harry Potter. He got a point. You're getting shit on.
I feel like
this is. Do you feel it?
Angry.
I love this perspective.
My perspective is on this. Is I'm getting shit on.
Perspective. My perspective is I'm just eating bonbons and just sitting on a big fluffy cloud.
Well, that's my perspective of you too.
Oh shit. Okay. So Michael, you're getting a point for Summer 11. Yep. So are you, Richard.
Wait, why is he getting a point? His perspective sucked on it.
You both had a pretty good perspective on it. His perspective, he had him a blast. Happened so fast, he said.
That's true.
My suit is damp right now.
So that is 4. That makes 4 points. But you know who's getting fucked? Me, because my Borglum bag is... God, I'm going to close up my bag.
You better close your bag up. No, another president might wander through.
You guys beat my bag. It's Always Sunny had a great description. You brought that story to life for me and made me want to watch the show for the first time.
Great choice by Richard.
This has been the Mount Rushmore podcast. I'm looking from the bottom of the mountain. Richard, how are you looking at the mountain?
I according to scoring, I'm even below the bottom of the mountain this week. But we'll say I'm looking out at Lincoln's nose.
Okay.
I'm in the other nostril of Lincoln's nose.
But you got the good one.
Yeah, that's right. The one with the secret chamber behind.
I've been Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.
Hey, are you a jock that likes comics?
Are you a nerd that likes comics?
Do you feel left out sometimes?
Well, then we've got the show for you.
I'm Imran.
And I'm Anthony.
He's the jock.
And he's the nerd.
And we host the Jock and Nerd podcast at jockandnerd.com. If you're looking for fun, entertaining, laugh out loud geek chat over all the latest Marvel, DC shows and news, visit jockandnerd.com.
Full spoiler podcast, lots of swearing.
You're such a jock.
You're such a nerd.
Oh, come on.
Shut up, nerd.
Okay.